Well, we hear a lot about anger in Congress, and last week, Democratic Indiana Senator Evan Bayh shook Capitol Hill and may have turned the tide in Congress when he announced that he wasn't seeking a third term. And he's here to tell us why he really decided to step down. Welcome.
Thank you, Barbara.
Okay.
Good to be here.
So, you're up for re-election. You've been a very good senator. Why are you walking away?
Barbara, I reached a conclusion that I could actually get more done for my state and for our country in the private sector. Congress is so gridlocked these days. It's regrettable, but with the brain-dead ideology, the strident partisanship, months go by, we don't get anything done.
Okay. You know, I hate to say this, but you sound like Sarah Palin right now.
Got to look at the hand?
She said the same thing, basically.
Do you want us to put up a teleprompter for you?
The difference is that he's in Congress and could make a difference.
Let me be clear about that, Joy. First of all, I'm looking forward to fighting for the things I believe in these next 11 months. I've dedicated literally my entire adult life, since I was 30 years old, to public service. It's something I believe in deeply. I'm an idealist at heart, but I'm also a pragmatist. And we're just not getting enough done.
Let's talk about that, because your father was a very well-known senator whom I knew, and he was a wonderful senator, Birch Bayh. And there you are with him. Somewhere there you are with him.
Yeah.
And there was a different time. It was a time when there was some politeness. It was a time when there was some supposedly reconciliation. Why has it gotten so angry? Why is there this rage within Congress?
Well, there are many reasons, and we don't have time to get into them all today, but the politics has almost become tribal. You've got the Democrats here, the Republicans there. We've got to remember we're Americans first.
But you say that, but I agree with you here. But it's hard when, you know, sitting at this table, and of course we probably have quite different terms in terms of ideology. But you sit here and say, I'm sick of the partisanship, yet you throw a cheap Sarah Palin joke in. So I don't really understand or believe you.
He didn't do that. He was responding to her.
I don't know.
No, he didn't do it.
Okay, I'll give you a pass.
I wasn't trying to diss Sarah.
There was some participation, but
It's not that cheap, actually. She did do it. Let's move on.
I just think that if you're going to participate in that, you can't be saying the other thing. So I want to hold you accountable just in that moment. I also want to know what things weren't getting accomplished due to this partisanship. What were we missing out on as Americans? Because Scott Brown's getting into it because of this partisanship that you're talking about. You're getting out. What didn't we get?
Well, Scott Brown's a good example of what I think the ultimate cure might be. But let me give you a perfect example of something I'm deeply concerned about. The rising debts and deficits in our country. It imperils our children's future. There's going to be a real economic shock if we don't get our act together. Just a few weeks ago, there was a vote in the United States Senate. If all of the people who had co-sponsored the bill had actually voted for their own idea, it would have passed. Instead, for short-term political reasons, some of them didn't. It's that kind of attitude.
So why didn't you quit during the Bush administration when the deficit went up? Why didn't you quit then? Why quit now when we need you? Why not quit then when Bush was raising the deficits higher than the sky?
Joy, I voted against the deficit under President Bush, and I voted against it now. I've tried to be consistent regardless of party.
But you didn't leave.
You didn't
so
leave.
You're leaving. I think the leaving is the part that we're really having a hard time with, because now when you have a guy who's actually trying to get something done, who could use somebody that's back going, you know, we're doing okay, and it's like, and forgive me if this is crude, but it's like whizzing in the wind. You know, sometimes when you're fighting a good fight, you're out there and you're going to get hit with the stuff. Why are you split? I mean,
we haven't had it yet.
You're going to get me in trouble with my wife if you're mad with me.
Stay in and fight.
Well, three quick things, Barbara. First, as you were pointing out, it has gotten so much worse with each successive year, Whoopi. It just is worse than it used to be, and we see recent examples of that. Secondly, I did say to the president, I talked to him about this on several occasions, he is trying to make a difference. He is trying to clear the air and create bipartisan cooperation. I literally said to him, Mr. President, if you had asked me to do almost anything else, I would have said yes to you. But I honestly think at this moment in time, and maybe it's those of us who follow politics find it hard to believe that just perpetually running for office is the only way to make a contribution. There are other ways to make a difference in this life.
You may have a Republican coming in who will make it harder for Obama.
We're
going to have a very competitive race, Barbara. We've got running a university, for example, to help educate our children, leading a charity or foundation to cure a disease, helping to grow our economy by creating jobs in the private sector. All of these things may be on a smaller stage, but are discrete, tangible accomplishments that will really help people. I see, Whoopi, you're a little skeptical.
What do you think about Arianna Huffington saying that nothing was accomplished in this country without total partisanship? The Civil War would have never cured slavery if everybody was bipartisan. Really, because they were always going to be this side and this side on hot topics.
Look, what you got going on today is if we don't address some of these issues, whether it's the deficit or energy or healthcare, if we don't address some of these issues, the country is going to be in deep, deep trouble. So two things have to happen. Those on the Republican side have to learn to give up occasionally some political advantage they have for the sake of making progress. Those on my side occasionally need to accept half a loaf when the alternative is none, and put some ideology aside. And let me get back to my Scott Brown point. More practical problem solving. My read on what happened in Massachusetts is the vast majority of Americans who consider themselves to be independents or moderates rose up and said, enough already. That's what needs to happen to take our government back and move our country in the right direction.
What about you? Are you in getting it done, do you think your path is go into the private sector, come back and run in 212 or 216?
I have no political agenda at this point, but it is possible that the last chapter of my public life has not yet been written. What that might be, I don't know. But if I ever did conclude that I could make a real difference, a better difference by running for public office again, I might do that.
By 212?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're saying by 216, maybe.
Barbara, I've got an open mind. I have no agenda.
Okay.
I just concluded that at this moment, running for another 6 years just to hold public office was not the right thing to do. It was good for my ego, but results are what matter to me.
Okay, what's the one thing, if it could be changed, you'd change?
The one thing?
Yeah, in Congress.
Well, probably at this, three real quickly. We've got to reform the finance system. This constantly raising money, perpetual campaigns really reduce the focus on public good. Yep. And there's a Supreme Court decision that's about to make that worse, unfortunately. Secondly, the filibuster. It's just got us stuck in the Senate. It's frustrating progress. Back in my father's day, they reformed it. I think we need to reform it again. And the third thing is the caucus system. We gather all the time, but it's almost always Democrats over here, Republicans over there. We got to get people listening together once again. It's only happened twice in my 11 years there, twice. First, following the impeachment of the president, didn't know how we were going to conduct the trial. Secondly, following 9/11. It shouldn't take a constitutional crisis or an attack on the country to get Democrats and Republicans listening to one another and working together.
We wish you success. Come back again, especially when you run in 216.